The epistle reading is Ephesians chapter 5, beginning with the 15th verse. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is, and do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery. But be filled with the Spirit, addressing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with all your heart, always, and for everything giving thanks in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, to God the Father. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Well, Tuesday was such an exciting day. The new Avett Brothers CD was released. Yeah. Got a response. That's good. If you don't know, the Avett Brothers are this band from up in Concord, and they have made it really big. And what's striking about their music is that it is good. I mean, their music is good. It's about goodness. The first song on the CD has been stuck in my head. You know how that happens? Like you get a song that's stuck in your head, and you're walking around doing something else, but there's this tune. It's always interesting, isn't it? You're talking to somebody, but there's this band playing in your head. There's a band playing in their head. And sometimes it's a dumb song that gets stuck in your head. A couple weeks ago, all day long I had, "It's a small world after all." It's just like, it's like gnats flying around. I couldn't get away from it. Take drugs, go to sleep. I slept all night, and I woke up the next morning. "It's a small world." The song that's been stuck in my head. It's from the Avett Brothers. The whole album, by the way, seems serious. It seems preoccupied with loss and death. And these guys, they're in their early 30s. You should say, man, your early 30s, you ought to be carefree and singing about fun and romance or whatever, but maybe they're songwriters, and they've reflected over what all of us might reflect over. Here's that lyric. "When I lose my direction, I look up to the sky. And when the black cloak drags upon the ground, I'll be ready to surrender. And remember, we're all in this together. If I've lived the life I'm given, I won't be scared to die." For me, this is a mirror image of what Paul says in Ephesians. Paul says, look carefully how you walk. That might imply you might not look carefully the way you walk. And he's not just talking about walk, and he's talking about how you live your life. Look carefully to the way that you walk. It's like saying be intentional about your life, and this is something that this just eludes us, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know how you think about the plot of your life and the passage of time. When I think about my life, it feels like I am in Usain Bolt's body sprinting. I mean, one day you're playing in a sandbox, and then the next moment you're throwing a Frisbee on some college campus, and then you're in your early working days, and then it's time to retire, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? What was all of that about? And it seems like a lot of important things have actually slipped away from you. Paul says, look carefully how you walk. Look carefully how you walk. And he adds this, the reason you should look carefully how you walk is because it's dangerous out there. Paul says the days are evil. And if I say to you the days are evil, I could probably get a few amens. Because a lot of you think the days are evil. But we grossly misunderstand what is evil about these days. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't ding me on political things. But let me just tell you, this past week was the week that I don't know. I kept running into Republicans who said, the evil in America is the Democratic Party. Or, what I'm really fearful of is 4 more years of Obama. Tremendous fear. One party being evil. The thing is, the week before that, I just ran into a bunch of Democrats, and they are terrified of Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. And they think what's wrong with America, the real evil out there would be the Republican Party and their agenda. What's striking to me about all this, and the reason I bring it up, is all the fear. Everybody is afraid. Notice the ads that you're being peppered with. None of them appeal to your good side. None of them claim anything noble. All the ads say is be very afraid of the other people. And we buy into it because we have come to be very afraid. And I tell you this because, Jesus came to earth, and Jesus spoke to people in a far worse economy than anything you and I will ever have to cope with in our lives. He spoke to people coping with the worst conceivable political machinery. He spoke to people whose outlook in life we would rank as entirely bleak. To those people, Jesus said, "Do not be afraid." Do not be afraid. Paul says, look carefully how you walk, and he says, do so as wise people. Fear makes fools of us, doesn't it? Walk as wise people. How do we learn to be wise? We see things from God's perspective. We think about what God has taught us in the Scriptures. And what does God tell us in the Scriptures about human nature? It tells us two things about ourselves. It doesn't define a political party, does it? It says there are two things about yourself you need to know. One is that you are nobility, and the second is you're a mess. And it's both. First, the nobility. You are made in the image of God. You are indelibly beautiful and precious in God's eyes, and you're probably happy to hear that. Here's the rest of it. The person of that other political party that gets on your nerves is made in the image of God and is indelibly beautiful and the recipient of God's grace. Every person you ever run into, every person everywhere, that is our greatness. And sometimes I want to wake Americans up and say, don't you realize how noble you are? Instead of quivering in fear, I want to say, trust yourself. Trust your country. And above all else, I want to say, trust God. Everybody's shivering in fear, but God has got everything well in hand. Can we trust God? Can we trust in the nobility that is ours because we are made in the image of God? That's part of the story of who you are. But the second thing is this: you're a mess. You're broken. You didn't need me to tell you this today, did you? You are lost and confused. There's this dark side, and how should we say it? The evil that plagues our world is not in a political party. We do this all the time. We mistake a symptom for the cause. We did this for years in the Arab world. We thought, if we can just get rid of Ayatollah Khomeini, and then it was, if we can just get rid of Saddam Hussein, and then it was, if we just get rid of Osama bin Laden. But guess what? There is still widespread anger in the Arab world. So it's not about any one person. The evil that plagues us in this world is not in some political party. The problem, really, it's our whole culture, isn't it? I mean, America's not exactly holy. We live in a society that is obsessed with things, that gets drunk on pleasure, that is addicted now to fear. And we are so very self-indulgent, and we barely give God a thought. That's the problem. See, evil's not out there. Evil is in my heart, and it's in your heart, and it's in everyone's heart. What the church has always called that is sin. That's the human problem, is that we sin. I sin. You sin. We all sin. That's the reason that God came down to earth in Jesus, because he knew that we were broken, we were sinners in desperate need of the grace of God. And Jesus came down not to tell us which party to vote for. He came down to give his life for us. When he stretched out his arms on that cross, he was reaching out to embrace us and say, yes, you are broken. Yes, you have been in headlong revolt against me, but I am determined to continue to love you. I will heal you. I will forgive you. The evil's not out there, it's in our hearts, but we're hopeful because of the love, the mercy, the grace of God. Paul says, if all this is so, then make the most of the time. Or as the King James translated it, redeem the time. I don't know about you, when I hear make the most of the time, maybe you are a manager at work and you like that idea, make the most of the time. You want more productivity, you want more efficiency. Let's have less Facebook checking at the office. Thank you very much. We need to be productive. We do this in our personal lives. If we say make the most of the time, we think, I've sure been trying to do that because I've been rushing around and I frantically go from one activity to another. Look at the little children growing up around us. They're 8 years old and they're 12 years old. They are stressed to the max because the parents buy into the fiction that life is good if you do more things, that our lives are more full somehow if we get more things crammed into our lives, and this is such a lie, and it's the one that's killing us. I mean, think about anything that matters. Is it the accumulation of things done that matters? I try to think of examples this week. The first one I came to, I just stopped there. So I thought about my grandfather, Papa Howell. I wish I could tell you I remember 897 things we did together, but I cannot. I can really only remember a handful of things, maybe 2 or 3, but that's not sad. It's a good thing. I'll tell you 2 of them. One is this. When I was a little boy, one day we were under the old oak tree in the shade there, and it was decided that we were going to churn some ice cream, and Papa Howell called on me, the first Howell grandchild, to carry the name into the future. He said, come, James, you're going to churn today. This is very exciting. So he sat me on the chair on his lap, and I laid my hand to that handle, and it was hard. I was making a little progress, then he laid his hand on mine, and he pushed. Together we made that ice cream. He kept whispering in my ear, good job, good job. When I was little, I would get the hiccups. Everybody's got hiccup cures that don't work. You know, you blow on a bag, drink water upside down. I don't know what you do. Papa Howell was a faith healer. He knew how to heal hiccups. He said, here, I can handle that. Sit on my lap. He would sit on my lap. I would sit on his lap. He would take his knuckles and he would pound out this little pattern on my back, and the hiccups would go away. I learned this craft. When my children got the hiccups, I healed them. And when they have children, they shall heal their children. The Howells are faith healers. That's only 2 little moments. I don't remember 897 things. I remember 2. And you know what? It's enough. In fact, if we had done 897 things, we probably wouldn't have had time to churn ice cream that afternoon, or you know what I'm saying? We get so busy, we miss out on anything that really matters. It's not the accumulation of things, it's somehow the quality of things, the most moving, tear-jerking, I think, song on that Avett Brothers album is, I believe it's a son trying to speak to his father who has died. And he says, now I can only speak to you through my prayers. And here are his words. My dream of all dreams, my hope of all hopes is only to tell you and make sure you know how much I love you and how much I always did. Make the most of the time. It's not cramming it ever more full. It's speaking the words, doing something together. And for us, it's really a matter of, as Paul puts it, understand what is the will of God, and then do that. How do we know the will of God? I'll tell you something that helps me to think about and to try to do the will of God. I've got this little thing. I've got one on my desk. I've got a wooden one somewhere. I've got one of these at home. It's a little prayer that St. Francis used to pray. So I've got a picture of Francis there and some artwork from the artist Giotto. And I pray this prayer. It's a prayer that Francis prayed day after day, multiple times during the day, year after year. Most high, glorious God, enlighten the darkness of my heart and give me, O Lord, a correct faith, firm hope, perfect charity, wisdom, and perception, that I may do what is truly your most holy will. What are the songs that play in your head? One of the things that we try to do for you at church is to teach you some songs on the chance that that might be the music that plays in your head as you go about your life. Think if you could do that, everything would be different. I've told you before, and I just have to remind you today about my grandmother, Mama Howell. She always had the music of God and the church playing in her head, and the way we knew is she did it out loud. She would be sweeping or baking or sewing, and she would hum or whistle or sing one of the great hymns of the church. There is a place of quiet rest near to the heart of God, or what a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What are we going to have this kind of music as the background as we go about our lives? When Paul says that you should be encouraged and emboldened by songs, the songs that he would be thinking about would be what we think of as the Psalms. Those passages in the Bible that were Israel's hymn book and became the hymn book of the early church, all Jews would have had them memorized. And what Paul wanted above all else as he went about during his day was to think about those words from the Psalms, things like, "O Lord, you are my rock and my redeemer," or "Be still and know that I am God," or "There's one thing that I will seek, and that's to behold the beauty of the Lord." Or maybe you could go about during your day, and the background music in your head might be, "The Lord is my shepherd. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will," what? "Fear no evil." Brothers and sisters, do not be afraid.